Time for another round of overrated or underrated. I'm going to read out a list of things and you're going to tell me if they are overrated or underrated.
Yeah, I'll do this.
Thank you.
First up, SPD pedals. No. Fuck's sake.
Can you fit all of these in?
First up, SBD Sandals, sent in by Mike, who says, I compete in multiple Gran Fondo events a year. Without fail, there's always one participant wearing clipless sandals with socks. They look like Tiva sandals, but clip into SPD pedals. Overrated or underrated?
I was just going to very confidently say underrated. But I think big flat pedals with trainers is going to be as good.
Yeah.
Because if you're using ultimately, I'm assuming that if you're using an SPD sandal, it's going to be super flexy. In which case, it's basically the same as a trainer. So you would have to use a pedal system that has a big enough platform that you're actually getting like lots of foot perchage on it. In which case, you may as well just not have the cleat and just wear flats. Which is, in my opinion, definitely underrated. Pedals and trainers.
Couldn't have put it better myself.
Yeah. I asked Chris Hall about this, adventure cyclist Chris Hall. He has some. I think he was given some Shimano ones for free. He said, I think they're probably underrated, actually. People look at them and just don't like them. But for touring, they potentially be quite good. They're not stiff at all, though, so you'd want a pedal with a wider surface. Not the best looking. Cool factor is very low.
Some people will think they're cool.
I actually do think they're cool, though. I'm at the point where I'm like, I kind of want a bit of that.
You said just go flat pedal with trainer. I'm assuming people who are wearing sandals is because they want some airflow or they want the feeling of wearing a sandal.
But then they put socks on.
Yeah.
But ultimately what I'm getting at is a large platform, flat pedal with any kind of shoe.
But if you wore a sandal with that, is there not chance that you potentially whack your toes and stuff like that? If I was going to wear a sandal, I'd almost want it to be clipped in to avoid like...
The best argument for them having a cleat would be if you were riding somewhere that was really wet and you want to increase a bit of grip.
Yeah.
And not get flat pedals that have like big mountain knobblies on, just like normal flat ones. You would get more grip with a clipless.
I feel like it's probably one of those things where if you like them, you like them. It's never going to be a mass market thing. If they work for you, then...
Well, I recently, for our holiday this year, I bought a pair of sandals for the first time in my life. And sandals are not really me. And now I have a pair of nice sandals. I actually quite like them.
Yeah.
So I could see myself using sandals for riding bikes.
I've seen you wear socks with those as well.
I have, yep.
It's all about the slider. Because the flip-flop is painful on your toes. Sandal, nah, I'm not going to wear those. Sliders, a good fitting one, which is like tight on the top of your foot.
You always walk badly in a slider,
You
though.
do. My mother's a chiropodist and she would say, don't do the slider. You need to have a back strap to have proper foot
I do
support.
value your mum's opinion.
Next one. This lot actually was suggested by Andrew in Vermont. First one, titanium mech hangers. He says, I feel like the point of a mech hanger is to bend/break and to not damage your frame. I would think that something as strong as titanium would counteract that. Am I mistaken?
I did a tiny bit of research.
That's not like us.
There appears to be 5 or 6 grades of titanium. I think bikes are typically made with like 5 and 6, which are like super, super tough. Grade 1 titanium is relatively soft as metals go. So as long as the mech hanger is made from a lower grade titanium, or I think it's actually a purer titanium, it is soft enough. Like we've got a titanium spork, and it is very, very, very soft. You can properly bend it. So it ultimately comes down to what grade of titanium is it being made from. It could be a good mech hanger material.
Why would people choose titanium? Because it's light?
The reason to not choose titanium is it's expensive. Yeah. So if it's just made of alloy, then
companies
it's
make
cheaper.
these fancy looking ones with all bits and holes and things drilled out and stuff. Didn't Silca do one? Maybe. I would be inclined to just use the mech hangers made by the frame company that your frame is from.
Yep.
Fair. So overrated. Yep. Next one, bleeding your brakes regularly. Andrew says, I've had hydraulic disc brakes for a few years now and haven't bled the brakes. They still feel fresh. Am I just getting lucky, or is this just something that isn't actually a problem?
I've never gone years without destroying my bike from crashing it, destroying my bike from putting it in a bike box, destroying it from it
Doing
being
some
run over.
mechanics.
Yeah, doing mechanical stuff. I break everything. I have always had to have my brakes bled multiple times a year.
I think if you've gone years and they're fine, you don't need to do anything. Excellent. You have been fortunate. Thinking about Emily's Topstone, your Topstone, that might have never been bled, and that's done a lot of miles, and you've had it for a long time, and it just works really well. The pads have been changed on that as well, and it just hasn't need bleeding. I guess sometimes a system is just locked in and just works, and all the conditions and everything mean it just works really well. You definitely don't need to, if they're working fine, don't mess with them because
you bleed them now. If you do bleed them now, the fluid will just be black that comes out. But if it's working,
well, I kind of think in this scenario he's going to be like, "Oh, get them bled." They'll get bled, and then all of a sudden there'll be
loads of problems.
Every 3 weeks they're going to need redoing, and then it'll be like, right, just replace them. It'll be like, oh god,
if it ain't broken, don't fix it, but just check them before you go down a big hill, maybe.
Yeah.
Right, last one. Drinking soda mid/post ride.
What, like baking soda?
No, like fizzy drinks.
I was joking. It was a joke. It was a bad joke. Okay.
Underrated.
Yeah, you're a big fan of a...
yeah, I drink. If I could be on a drip, CocaCola, I would.
Do you remember when we used to
yes.
go... You know
I know exactly where this is going. Tell a story.
That made it sound like it's not that great a story. But when we used to go to the triathlon camp in France, we used to do a big ride, and they used to stop at a cafe. You only had about 20k left or something of the ride by that
there
point,
wasn't
didn't
loads
you? There wasn't a lot
now, yeah.
left. You could get a Coke, but the rule was if you got a Coke, you had to get another Coke to then take with you for the last bit, so you didn't have a sugar rush and then bonk.
Yeah.
Oh, how would you carry it?
In your bin. So
No.
you used to tell everyone to put.
See,
put your
that's
Cokes
where
in
it
your
starts
bins.
going wrong, because unless you shake it loads, and even if you do this, it still goes wrong. You shake it loads, trying to get all the carbonation out of it, and then put it in a bottle, and then you ride for about 4 seconds, and then it starts going.
Yeah. Spitty.
And then it starts putting sugar all over your frame, and then you go sticky.
Just
and
wash
then
it.
you sell your skin suit to that man.
Just wash it.
I wonder if that was because we were sat at the cap, because it was a massive group of you. If you got served first, you'd maybe have your Coke and then be sat there for half an hour before you then left again. So perhaps the sugary effect had worn off, and then you'd then be...
It does get you do crash
Yeah.
hard if you've drank a lot of Coke in there.
Yeah.
But
If I was going to like neck a big bottle of Coke, I would be thinking, because of Mark Shaw and our previous experience, I'd be like, I should probably put some of that in my bottle. I've actually diluted Coca-Cola in a bottle before as well to get some of the fizz out.
Yeah, I think I'd always just prefer to have a chewy sweet, just fill my stomach up a little bit.
Pros do it a lot. I've been on a few training camps, and there's always, the mini cans of Coke that they use as mixers. They sell them with, at the front of the supermarket, the gin and tonic section and things like that. Vodka, little Cokes. They always give those out.
Little Cokes.
Top of climbs and things like that.
Nice.
It's a different thing though, isn't it? Because what they're essentially doing is going, we need to make sure we've got loads of carbohydrates in us, fast carbohydrates or fast sugars, so that we're fueling to train as best as we possibly can. And yes, that is the sort of stuff that we're doing. And I think the whole point of the challenge with it is, if you haven't been if you've done a 3 hours of bike ride and you haven't eaten enough, and then you slam a bottle of Coke full of sugar, your body's going to have this huge dump, and then it's going to have a big fat crash. So you have to maintain that. Whereas what the pros are doing is, from the start, they're maintaining this high blood sugar level.
Yeah. Small breakfast, start eating straight on the bike.
Yeah.
So what we saying, overrated or underrated?
Underrated, because fizzy drinks are nicer than water in plastic bottles.
Underrated. Again, it's like, what, do you want another gel or a little Coca-Cola? Coca-Cola.
Thank you for your suggestions. If you want to make a suggestion for overrated or underrated, please send them to wildonespodcast@cademedia.co.uk, and we might read yours out in a future episode.